Welcome to the Digging Deeper podcast, Perimeter Church podcast, and I'm Jeff Norris. I get to serve as the senior pastor of Perimeter, joined with Laura Elvington here, Laura Story, as you might know her, and we are so thrilled to be coming to you with our very last episode in this series that we've been doing, which is this series that we kind of been calling Faith and then, you know, whatever topic of that particular episode. And so for this one, we are thrilled to be joined by Matt Papa as we think about, talk about, discuss faith and singing. And you may be familiar with Matt, and you're probably more familiar with him than you think you are, in the sense that you've sung a lot of his songs at our church, songs that he's helped write on with Laura, and songs that he's helped write on with other folks that we sing here and that you've been blessed by if you're a member of Perimeter Church. And if you're not even in your church, you've probably sung them as well. So anyway, Matt, thanks for joining us, man. We're thrilled to have you joining us via Zoom. And where in Florida? Where are you?
Hey, I'm glad to be here. First of all, guys, I'm on to be on the last episode of this, which I think means you saved the best for last.
100%.
Definitely.
100%, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Or you just had to figure out something at the last minute, and so you called me.
Yes, that too.
I'm in Marco Island, Florida, South Florida.
Awesome. All right, for those like me who aren't as familiar with South Florida, where give me close to Miami.
So if you say you got an airplane and went to Miami.
Yep.
You know, to like live the La Vida Loca or something.
Yep.
And if you drove straight west from there, you would find me.
Okay.
On a small little island.
Awesome.
And it's beautiful there.
Yeah.
It is gorgeous there.
Yeah, a lot like Atlanta, right?
A lot.
Yeah,
a
lot
like that.
Yeah.
So we
just
are
gorgeous concrete everywhere, just beautiful.
Yeah.
Concrete.
So our worship leaders here at the church, I don't know if you knew this or not, but we took a trip down to visit Matt.
I did know that. I remember that. Yep.
I remember because you were texting us mean things about not inviting you to come.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Why was I not invited?
That's a good question.
Yep. You know, there are churches where Matt, where the worship staff invite their pastor to things like that, but you know, apparently that doesn't happen at Perimeter.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Yeah. Tell him though what I helped y'all on 2 songs, right?
Yeah, he's actually written a couple of things with us, which is what
Oh,
happens
big time.
when he shows up.
Yep.
At
Well,
our writing retreats.
They throw me a bone. They's like, okay, look, you
So
can add a word.
maybe if you keep working on your songwriting, one day you'll get upgraded to a church where you'll get invited to the retreats.
I know. You know, but I love Perimeter. I don't. You know.
There could be
Maybe they'll invite me one day.
maybe.
We'll see.
Enough about us. Enough about you.
Yeah, I want to hear. Let's hear from our guest, right, Matt? Tell us about yourself. Okay, what do you do? What's a little bit of how you got into what you do, and whatever you want to share with us on kind of a bio front.
Whatever I want to share with you. Okay. I don't know if you should have said that.
Yeah, I know Matt better than you, Jeff. You should not whatever.
Maybe,
not whatever you want to share.
Should we give him parameters?
Okay, tell us what do you do now? All your many jobs.
Okay, what do I do now?
And then I want to hear like how you got started doing what you're doing.
Okay, yeah. So I live in South Florida as of somewhat recently. I write songs predominantly as my living and as my 9 to 5, I guess you could say. And then I'm an artist in residence at a church down here on Marco Island, Marco Presbyterian Church. And I just dabble in a few other little random things, but those are my big rocks. Those are the main 2 things.
Tell us. I'd love to hear, because Laura knows you well, but I'm getting to know you, and for our listeners as well. How'd you get into music? Something you were into at an early age? When did you realize you were going to be a songwriter? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So music has always been, I would say, an escape for me. Everyone has something maybe that's an escape. What if someone is whispering?
You heard Zach whisper. Zach was whispering
he was
to
telling
Laura
me that needed
to pull his mic.
Yeah, I've never used a microphone. Check. Okay. Sorry, it was
Have you done
my
this
fault.
before?
Laura, story. All right.
It's a great question.
So music was always kind of an escape for me. As a kid, it was like just where I would go. I would tinker at the piano, and it was kind of a place of peace for me. And and then I got really into sports. I was going to be in the NFL. Jeff,
Me too. I was going to be there with you. Yeah.
Yeah. We were going to be there together. Although you're like way, way older than me, so.
I think we figured out that there's a 4-year difference here, which is a massive gap. Yeah.
That's true. All right. So no, I was really into sports, and then I picked up a guitar when I was 12, and I just got really, really into it, and kind of almost simultaneously, started going to church and learning about God. And so I didn't really grow up in a Christian home, but about that time I started going to church. We were a little Baptist church in Georgia, and it was an awesome season where I was learning about God, and I was like finding new friends and finding like a family in a way. Mm-hmm. And then the music thing came along, and it was just an amazing season of growing in all of that, in my faith. And so I would say in my early teenage years, I was like, okay, I really, really, really like this. And just kind of dove into it. Went to college, studied music. Out of college, I'd saved up a bunch of money, slept on this guy's couch in Nashville, went to Nashville, did a CD, did that whole thing. So that's kind of how I got started.
What are your musical influences? Who influenced you and impacted you?
Yeah, besides Eminem.
Yes, right. Before we hit record on this, he was rapping. There you go.
I won't do the whole thing. All right. Actually, hip hop is more recent. Early on, it was like country music. I'm a Georgia boy. I grew up in, y'all are Georgia folk. So country music was big. Classical music has always been like something I've been intrigued by, and something that has always just felt like another universe to me, and a place that you can go in a way. And just the transcendence and the power and the, epic thing. And which obviously like hymns come from kind of either the classical or folk tradition, or sometimes both, that those two genres inform what hymns are really. But I was, in high school, I was really into rock and roll. That was a huge thing for me and all my teenage angst. The 90s, it was an awesome era for rock and roll. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. So,
all right, hold on.
Okay, so
you go ahead. I got a question on that.
So you went from rock and roll,
Queen, which was the greatest of fusions of rock and roll and classical music.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, hold on. We could not be more in sync right now. Like, okay. Queen is my favorite. Right here. Yeah, I'm with you, brother. Queen is my favorite band ever.
Okay, but we're going to turn the corner now.
I interrupted Laura, I'm sorry.
Away from Queen.
Okay.
So how did you... So congregational singing, which is one of the things that you're known for, not just that you're known for, but you were one of the names right now that I hear writing the songs that congregations are singing, especially when it comes to contemporary hymns. When was that introduced in your life, and how did that kind of grip your heart?
Hey, and before you answer, Matt, can you tell us, Laura, what are some of the songs we sing that Matt has written on that our people may not know?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
I'm trying to think of, I wish I could think of the first song that I remember of Matt's, but things like, especially ones that we do around here at Perimeter, Christ, Our Hope in Life and Death is one of the ones that we probably do the most.
Yep.
His Mercy is More is one. Come Behold the Wondrous Mystery, Christ the Sure and Steady Anchor, and that's I'm sure that I'm leaving some out, but
we sing all four of those all the time. Yeah.
So how did you get started?
That's really cool. Okay, that's a wonderful question. I would say that probably like a lot of people, I would say that career or calling or identity that I'm currently living in, I somewhat stumbled into, and didn't necessarily expect to be here doing this, but it was kind of like it kind of all started with doing the songs for my own records, right? Did the record in Nashville, which I actually put In Christ Alone on. That was 2004 or 2005. I did that record. So I told Keith, I mean, they wrote that song in like 2001 or 2002, right?
Yeah, and tell a little bit about that as well, as far as Keith Getty and.
Oh yeah. So I write songs with Keith and with their publishing company and all that. So, but I told him if I hadn't recorded that song, it probably would have never taken off.
Yeah. 100%.
I know they're very grateful for you.
Doing
that.
Anyway, so on that first record, I had In Christ Alone on there. I had a couple of, and then I had like a couple little random I wrote a couple hymns, but they were mainly, I would say, more sort of performance songs. And so what I was kind of doing over here, and then the hymns thing was kind of over here, but the hymns thing was always there, and it was kind of in the periphery, and I was always intrigued by it and interested in it. But I was kind of more over here, like during my 20s, so I was hustling, doing concerts, blah, blah, blah. And over here, this thing, like Boswell and I kind of started writing songs together and do this thing. And this thing over here started to kind of take a life of its own. Mm-hmm. And the songs we were working on seemed to have some sort of, what's the word? I don't know.
Staying power. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting, but I'm kind of doing this other thing. And, I guess as my 20s went on into my early 30s, again, it was kind of more the same. And there was one book I remember being very impacted by, Every Good Endeavor by Tim Keller. Yep. And he was talking about how the difference between, I think his two terms were a vocation and a calling.
Yep.
He said the difference between the two things is like a vocation is something that you do because you want to do it, and you do it for yourself. But a calling is a job or something that someone else calls you to do, and you do it for them rather than for yourself. Mm. And there was something happening, I guess, in these new songs and these hymns, we'll call them, that I was working on with Matt and doing that whole thing, that kind of spoke to me a little bit as a calling and felt like they were bigger than me. Yeah. And bigger than my personality or my artistic quirks or my any of that. And I was like very scared to kind of start to lean into that, and felt in a way I kind of felt there was a loss in turning toward that, but an amazing sense of meaning, because from seeing people resonate with the songs, people sing the songs, it's been a really, really cool thing to see. So that's kind of how that pivot happened. It was very slow. But it's been amazing to see what God's done with the songs.
That's interesting. I think I experienced that a little bit as well. It's almost like the Nashville thing. You go to Nashville to make a name for yourself, to write a song that everyone will remember you for. But the worship,
or just remember you.
Yeah. But the whole worship side of it, it's instead of you being the lead singer, it's all of a sudden you're enabling, especially for your songs, hundreds of thousands of people to sing this song who may never know your name. Mm-hmm. Making much of his name. Yeah. And it's this realization of being part of something way bigger than yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's neat.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody about that yesterday in the car. Who was I talking to? It's in a way there's a part of me, right, that's sad because of that, maybe because like, okay, people don't know who I am, but they know the song. There's also part of me that's quite proud because, you know, I think great things always transcend the people who made them. You know,
Yeah.
like great movies, great books. You know, it's like the book, the title, or the theme or the story becomes the thing that people know and remember,
Yeah.
and that's almost the highest compliment. You know, so
Yeah. So just even thinking about that, is it Isaac Watts? Is that the great hymn writer of the 19th century? I mean, kind of disproves your point, Matt, but in a way, like I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I know there's this hymn writer who wrote a lot of the hymns that we sing from, you know, over a century ago. I think his name is Isaac Watts, but you know, there's a ton, and I would say 98% of the people that sing his hymns have no idea who he is.
Yeah.
But yet he wrote songs and hymns back then that were such a blessing to the church, even until this day. And you know, I seriously doubt that he's in glory right now, going, man, I really hate that people don't know that I wrote those songs. You know, I mean, he's enamored with Jesus right now, and just praising the King for using him in a way that would bless the church for generations to come. And not to, you know, pump you up too much, brother, but man, I really think the songs that you are writing along with Matt Boswell and others, and Laura even here, you know, even Laura,
Even me.
I think there's a real thing happening with you guys and the songs that y'all are writing, that will bless, in my opinion, will bless the church for generations to come. And man, what a blessing to us, what a treat, and just what a joy. I hope it's a joy for you guys to know, gosh, God is using you in some significant ways. Let me ask you this. Why is singing so important? You know, why do when we get into our churches on a Sunday morning in the congregational singing, what's that doing to us? How is that something that we should be going, man, this is beautiful, good, and needed?
Yeah. I think it is important. I mean, one, because we're commanded to do it. And then I guess the question under that question would be, you know, why are we commanded to do it? There's such a powerful, you know, God didn't create us as just cerebral creatures, you know, and singing has a way of drawing your heart and soul into the truths, and it pulls, you know, it's like, I think it was Tolkien who talked about the back door for truth, the imagination as the back door for truth. And, you know, music just has a way, singing has a way of, you know, it's the back door, as in it forces you to lower your defenses when you don't even realize you're lowering your defenses, you know, and you're really contemplating these things, maybe even subconsciously. And then, you know, I used to always say, like, a song is a sermon people remember. You know, no offense, Jeff.
I always tell him that as well.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, and it's, you know, people forget a sermon after a week or two, but you know, all the stories of people in hospital beds who just are singing the hymns, who know the hymns, and that they are what is there with them in that moment, you know. And so, and you know, there's, I mean, a host of other reasons, unity, you know, singing together. There's so many reasons that it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, hey, tell us what you're doing right now with the Gettys, with Crossway, all of that conference.
Yeah. Well, so we're working away at songs. We're working on album number 3, to set to be recorded this August, September.
Hey, can you tell us also a little bit about tell us about Matt Boswell, how the two of y'all got connected, how you felt called to do this kind of as a duo endeavor?
yeah, so
Is that
it
part
was
of the first
early.
question you asked him?
I'm sorry. I have so many questions. Right
Did you let him answer the first question you
no,
asked him?
no, I'm just going to keep asking questions.
Do those go together? I think they go together.
That's fine. That's what my mom used to do, so that's fine. No, I was related to Boswell. Boswell and I got set up on I hate to use this metaphor with two guys who write songs together, but we got set up on a blind date. In the music biz, they do this sort of thing where one publishing company sets up another writer from their publishing company. They just kind of set you up. So it is very much like a blind date. And so I forget who I was working with. I think maybe he was with Word or something at the time. And they just set us up. We wrote like a couple hymns that day because both of us were kind of interested in dabbling in that world. And it was just, it was a great hang. I just really liked him. I think we wrote a couple good things. We wrote this song called Creation Hymn that I think it was like a text that he didn't have a melody for, and I just wrote a little melody to it real quick. And then a song called "Oh Fount of Love," that I think turned out to be a pretty good song. But anyway, it was actually unusually fast for the kind of music we write. Which a lot of the songs take a year or 2 or 3 years sometimes. And anyway, so we just every once in a while we kept we stayed in touch over the next few months, and then we decided like, hey, let's get together and write every Tuesday or Wednesday on Skype. Skype was the thing then, not Zoom or whatever we're on here. Which I still don't understand how Skype blew that. I mean, they had like a 8-year head start, and then Zoom.
I need like a behind the scenes true Hollywood story on that.
Yeah. Do a faith in Skype.
Faith in the fall of Skype. Skype and Blockbuster. How did y'all both blow this?
Skype's deconstruction. All right, so we started writing together once a week, and it was cool because it was very different from, not Lauren mentioned the Nashville thing, not to kind of put that down, but the Nashville thing is just a unique thing in that it's like you get together with somebody at 10 o'clock and you write till 1 and you go eat lunch and it's like the song is done, Yeah. And whereas our thing, it was like we were meeting together for 1 or 2 hours on Skype, and it was like, we'd work on a song and then a week later we'd work on it again. Work on the same song again and again, and this would go 5, 6, 7, 8 months, a year, and we'd be looking at the same song, and it's somewhat frustrating, but the time is a mirror. Time shows us what things are, and just to have that and to allow boredom to do its job as well. When you become bored with a lyric, after a few months, it's like, well, let's do something with that. Or you become bored with the melody after 5 or 6 months, and it's like, oh, maybe that's not working. So Boz is a fascinating guy. He's like a big happy Texas Baptist pastor guy, and but he's extremely I don't know. He's wise. He's intelligent. I shouldn't have said, but it's not. He's a Texas Baptist happy pastor. But he's No, he's just very wise. I think he's wonderful with titles. I think his best songwriting sort of talent is titles. He's really good. To me, a great title is like a horizon. Like it feels like, you probably, Jeff, with sermon titles too. It's like a great sermon title feels like, you could write books and books and books on this topic, whatever it is. It feels like a horizon, something to chase. And Boswell has a gift at making those, and it makes writing the melody to those very interesting and satisfying. So yeah, it's been a really, really cool thing. I mean, we've had a really cool friendship and relationship and partnership, and both of us kind of dabble in both worlds. Like I think certain melodies from some of these songs are his and certain lyrics are mine, and I'm generally the melody guy, but we kind of crisscross back and forth, and it just, I don't know, it seems to work. It is very much like like I mentioned, blind date. With songwriting, it's just very strange and bizarre for it to kind of work. Two people who are extremely, weird and inconsistent and quirky and opinionated, and but hopefully humble enough to walk together and bounce things back and forth and live with the other person's idea for a few days. And I don't know, it's just a bizarre thing, but it works.
Well, and it's been sweet because knowing both of you guys pretty well, seeing the songs come out of your friendship, and that's been a sweet thing to see. What would you say? Yeah. Tell us a story about one song that maybe you've written that would be, whether it's your favorite or just one like that you think of when I ask about a sweet moment of writing a song. It can be just you or the two of y'all together, or you and someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I
Laura
really think, honestly...
Laura thinks it's one of the songs that she wrote with you. I want to see if it's
clearly one of
I want to see if you say the same thing.
We're still working on it, aren't we, Laura? We've got like 2 or 3 kind of in the hopper, but we gotta figure it out.
We're getting there.
Yeah. I don't know. One that was really interesting to me was Christ Our Hope in Life and Death, that song, which was about 4 or 5 writers. And that was just a really, at times frustrating, but because there's, so many chefs in the kitchen or whatever. But it was just cool to see how that unfolded. I mean, I think it started with Merker's little da 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 da. That was all it was. It was for some other song. And then Keith had a little idea for the beginning of the chorus. And then we kind of made the verses. And I don't know, that one was very, usually when a song has like 5 or 6 writers, it's like 1 or 2 people really make the whole song, and then the rest of the people are like trying to get it fine-tuned and kind of to the finish line. But that one was it was like actually every person kind of contributed equally in a way, and it was really, really cool. Yeah.
Matt, let me ask you this, and I feel free to have freedom to say whatever you feel like you should say on this in terms of what are your current concerns about what Christian music can be and what it often is in terms of what's being sung in our churches. And what do you want it to be? What do you think, man, this is what I'm convicted about Christian singing lyrically, musically, whatever should be more of versus what it tends to be?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I really like the diet metaphor, I think, when it comes to music and worship. And I think when you're talking about lyrics or you're talking about the mood or even the feel of songs, having a varied diet is, to me, extremely helpful. You have the full spectrum of, say you're talking just like melodically or in terms of the mood. You have songs that are happy and joyful, and you have songs that are moody and contemplative and and kind of searching and then you have from a lyrical perspective, you have the songs that are praise and adoration, and the songs that are gratitude for God's grace, and you have the songs that are laments, and the songs that are I think someone's trying to knock on my door. The songs that are like the Psalms do. They take you to all these places of sorrow and so having that broad spectrum, I think is the most important thing. I think, to your question though, like where is it lacking and what parts of the diet are maybe lacking in the church as a whole, that's hard for me to say, really. I would like to hear what you guys think, because I think some of that comes in step with denominations and personality temperaments, and how so as the church as a whole, I wonder if everybody were together, if it would be balanced. But then you have like, charismatics and Baptists over here who do a certain thing really well, and then you have Anglicans and Presbyterians over here who do a certain thing really well. So.
Well, what do you feel passionate, like as you're planning a worship service for your church? What do you feel passionate about including?
I think it's really cool to find the songs that that everyone can sing really well. I mean, that may be kind of like understood or a given, but I don't know. I just always have in my head this we'll call him like Billy Baptist or Deacon Darrell or whatever, the guy in the back who is like has his arms crossed and like doesn't want to sing. And so like I don't know, I want to do songs that appeal to that guy, that have a masculinity to them, that would make him want to sing. At the same time, I think the greatest melodies in the world are masculine and feminine at the same time. They have like a both and kind of thing. So I don't know. I'd like to sing songs that have both of those things going on.
Yeah.
And I think like songs that I don't know. I do think in terms of if you look at CCLI Top 100, I would say it is replete with songs of like grace and praise and joy. And so like trying to find the cheat code and trying to find like, to me, a great example is Lord, I Need You. It's a song that it actually broke through and it became widely successful. And yet it had a twinge of sorrow to it. It had a twinge of desperation to it. So I don't know. I just think those maybe are the songs that feel the most missing. There was that famous interview with Bono and Eugene Peterson where Bono's like, where are the songs? He's like, I hear all these songs about God being great and God being amazing, but where are the songs about like you're a bad marriage, and where are the songs about your lostness in the world? And for corporate worship, it's a different thing, but I think his point is valid. Like we need songs that feel desperate in a way. We need songs that feel like real life, that and that resonate with us in the place we are now as fallen human beings. I think maybe a lot of our worship songs are overly idealistic.
That's really good.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, you're triggering so many thoughts for me in that, and I don't think this is the answer, by the way, but on one hand, you could say, well, somebody could be listening and going, well, that's why, our brothers and sisters of the 18th and 17th and 16th century, they only sang the psalmody. You sing the Psalms, and you're going to sing all the emotions of the human heart, right?
Right.
And there's going to be lament. There's going to be, all that kind of stuff. But I love singing Psalms, but I also love what I love is, guys, and I again, not kissing up to you, man, but I love how you approach songwriting, Boswell, Getty, Laura, just kind of the whole group. And y'all are the ones that I know. I know it's wider than that, and there's more people involved. But because I feel like you guys are doing a good job of that diet, where you're writing songs that are singable, they have strong melodies, they're musically inviting in terms of my desire to listen to them and sing them, but they're also there's such a gospel depth to them. They're bringing me to the cross in a way that's bringing my emotions into it, and the desperate feel of why do we need Jesus so very badly. And so I think I just want to encourage you to say, keep doing what you're doing, because I think you guys are onto something really beautiful that's going to, again, in my opinion, last through generations. A lot of what and I don't want to be critical, and it's not the space for it, but a lot of what is being played and CCLI, all that is, to me, doesn't have staying power, because it does feel like, man, this is just kind of I don't even know what I want to be careful with my words, but just, light, Christian light, somewhat like, hey, feel better about yourself. God is good, which is all true. Like, God is good, right? And I don't want to minimize that, but you guys are hitting on some deep heartstrings that drive us to the feet of the cross, to the feet of Jesus, to the power of the resurrection, while drawing in the richness and depth of Scripture and our emotions. So anyway, love what y'all are doing.
Really encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
I think there was one thing, a little piece I wrote one time about cathedrals, and I think that's in a way what we're trying to do. And it's, to me, it's like a cathedral is not the only form of architecture that is asked for in the world, right? There's motels, there's hotels, there's stadiums, there's all these, so to me, songs that have like the pop appeal and the immediacy, and that have that flashbang, are useful in their own way. They're a certain kind of architecture, and I think the thing that we're trying to do is more like a cathedral, which is a little slower, and it's not necessarily better or worse, but yeah, good. That is the hope, that it would hang around.
That's a good picture. I love that.
So how are you guys going about doing that?
Well, that's a good question. I think we're just trying to be slow. I think, honestly, that's and the temptation, I mean, with the Getty stuff and all that, it has been a little more tempting to try to go fast, but if you guys probably know about those cathedral stories are just absolutely inspiring. People who are laying bricks and literally knew that they would never see the thing completed. Yep. And to see generations go by, and to but they were a part of something that was bigger than themselves. And just adding beauty to their city and to the world. And I don't know. Yeah. So I think we're trying to go slow, because, like I said a minute ago, that time is just such a good mirror. And I just think going slow is hard, but it's very helpful.
I think two things I've noticed about just kind of I don't know if you'd categorize the publishing house, Getty Music. And so I can't remember whether we mentioned this or not. So they have signed on to do a hymnal with Crossway. And it's Crossway's second largest project they've ever done, second to the ESV translation of the Bible.
Wow. So
it's this daunting undertaking, but super exciting. But two things I've noticed. First of all, there's an annual conference that they do every year, partly to bring worship leaders together to encourage them, but a lot of it's a great place to try out these songs, because I think a lot of contemporary worship is being written in a writer's room and then recorded, put on the radio, and then the congregation tries to sing it, rather than a group of worship songwriters getting together, writing a song, and trying it out with the congregation. So I've always loved that. The other thing, we do writing retreats 2 to 3 times a year. And in addition to writing, we always have people that come in and talk to us about just various aspects of kind of the craft of it. So kind of taking on the posture of learners before we audaciously try to be contributors. And so we've had Malcolm Guite, who's a British poet. I can't even remember what to say about him. Do what?
Hobbit poet.
He's like, he's like a
amazing guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, where is he? I think he's on staff at Oxford, maybe.
I think he's like the poet laureate at Oxford or something.
Yes.
Wow.
Something like that. We had last week we were all together and had Steve Jobs. It was his 6th hire. Okay, so this guy had been at Apple for.
You paused after Steve Jobs, and I was like, wow.
So the 6th person.
That's impressive.
And so he came, and he's 83 years old. we're sitting there just hanging on every word as he's talking about creativity and innovation and decision making. You know, it was amazing. So I love that before we start writing, we start learning.
Yeah.
And that's been
good.
something that I think has changed how we write.
That's beautiful too. Like in terms of the posture.
Yeah.
There. And yeah. I'm going to chew on what you said earlier for a while. I think that was really good. The picture you gave us of every type of song that's being written is at some level needed in the grand, huge scheme of Christian music, and where you guys are really trying to kind of write and have, you know, build what you're building is in that cathedral setting, which that's really cool. Love that, man. Laura, tell us, or maybe Matt needs to tell us, where do we, for listeners, where do they find your stuff? Where do they, you know, website, book, anything that you would want them to know about?
www.mattpapa.com.
There you go. There you go.
I think that was 4 W's.
Did you? Yeah. Make sure you get that fourth W in there.
Yeah, you can just search my name and you can find my music and yeah.
And you've written, you've done some writing too, right? Like actual book writing.
You have a book out, don't you?
I have a book. That was an interesting little experiment. It was like when I guess that was early 30s, I think I did that. But you know, a lot of my albums that I would release like sort of devotional commentary, like along with this. So each song I would write little sermonettes about this is where the song comes from. This is scripture. This is, you know, this is my thoughts, blah, blah. And so I did that album, and I actually, when I started to do it with that album called Look and Live, it was kind of out of the season of like I was in seminary and I was like reading all these books, and I just like kept writing and writing. And I was like, what is it? This is kind of interesting, and kind of just organized it all, and so it's a book about basically a book about worship from this sort of human stance, like human beings as worshiping creatures, and it's sort of a discourse on that.
And what's the name of it?
It's called Look and Live.
Look and Live. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Man, thanks so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us.
Yeah.
And
it was fun.
Any final thoughts from you?
Yeah. Last question. What are you most excited about? Like what coming up? Musical, ministry. What are you most excited about?
Gosh, good
other
question.
Than us playing tennis in Ireland in a couple months. That's the other thing that we do when we're not writing songs. The whole group of us.
Yeah, just rub it in.
Tries to.
Honestly,
yeah,
that's the best time. Gosh, I don't know. That's a really good question. I think, trying to get my head around this third album is kind of scary, probably more than exciting. I think it's, I don't know, seeing these new songs. I think whenever seeing the songs that we've released in the past and see what they do now, it's like there's a little bit of an expectation and excitement to see this is what song ABC or whatever could do, and that's always really fun to think about. I don't know. I guess with this third record coming and the Sing Conference and the live recording that I think will be there. It should be cool.
Okay, so just to highlight a couple of things there. First of all, the new album, I've gotten the sneak preview. It's going to be fantastic.
I'm sure it will be.
That's kind of a ways away. But the live...
Do we have a release date on that?
No, I don't think so.
Not yet.
Because it hasn't been recorded. That's the second thing, though, is that it's being recorded live
at the Sing Conference. In 24 or 23?
But don't tell anyone. This should only live on this podcast. So
don't tell anyone, but sign up for the Sing Conference if you want to be on Matt's new album.
And actually, we don't know if it's going to be recorded live, right?
No.
Is that the official word?
No,
Is it, yeah.
but show up,
Yeah.
But
and
show
you
up.
will
There
be
we
on
go.
the album.
Yeah.
That's great.
No, Matt, thank you.
Hey, hold on. I thought of one more thing real quick.
No, go ahead.
So you're going to come, we're going to get you up to the perimeter at some point to lead worship with us, right?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You just
Let's
have
go.
him on the spot, just while I have you.
Yeah,
Can
just
you
while
come
we're
this
recording this and this Sunday. Oh, wow. Okay. Get ready, Matt. We're going to fly you up here. But no, we'd love to have you up at some point. That'd be a blessing to us.
You know what?
So,
That bluegrass thing, what was that, about a year or two ago?
Yeah, it was right before you moved.
yeah.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
Easter egg hunting, my kids were there.
Yeah.
It was like just a party. So I would do that again.
Yeah. Well, we'll get you up for both. We'll get you in on a Sunday morning and something that we do. We do throughout the year. We do a number of outdoor events out there, and we'll get you up for one of those too.
That was a blast. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
It so? Thanks not just for spending time with us and talking to us about worship, singing, all of that, but thanks for everything you're doing to just give us the resources for our churches to sing. Can I ask you one last question? I know we've almost ended.
I think this is the fourth one last question.
I know. One last question. Okay, so that worship songwriter that is wondering, like, where do I start? If I could get one piece of advice from Matt Papa, what would it be?
I would say this probably applies to like every sort of writer, which may be a little disappointing, but I would say to view what you do as a job. I think that the tendency for I think musical artistic types is to over romanticize the process, and to kind of over mystify it and to say when the inspiration strikes or whatever, as opposed to just like it's a popular term or whatever, just like the grind, and seeing it that way. Because when I look back at my work, I don't know which things were from inspiration or which things were just from sweat or toil. I can't tell the two apart from each other. It just kind of is what. And there's flashes of inspiration, but on the whole, I think it's a good thing to learn to be content with and to even be happy with the feeling of uninspired work. And that itself as an offering to God, and the plotting, and a lot of people talk about the dirt and the clouds. Like, are you a clouds person? Are you a dirt person? Are you like a visionary or a detail person? Almost every songwriter I know is a clouds person. But you have to get in the dirt and the weeds. And learn a craft and a skill, and that takes time, and just go for it.
Oh, that's so good.
That really is, and it does apply across. For me, writing sermons, and I have written one book that may be the only book I ever write. I don't know. We'll see what God has in store for that, but that's a really good word for me to hear, man. Because sometimes we can fall into the trap of thinking that only the moments of inspiration are from God, but actually He's in the grind with us. I mean, He's blessing the blood, sweat, and tears, of the daily grind, and that's holy work. That's good work. So anyway, that's a good word, man. Thank you. Well, we're gonna let you go. We really are gonna let you go this time.
Thanks for having me, guys. If you want, I can close with the Eminem song, or
yeah. Well,
you can. We're gonna edit it out in post, but you can. Feel free to.
Yeah, we'll officially stop recording, and then I would love to hear that.
All right.
But yeah, no. Hey, thanks again. Let me tell the listeners and viewers here, thanks for joining us for this series. This is the last of an 8-part series we've been doing on faith and hitting a lot of different topics along the way. We've had some tremendous guests join us for these 8 episodes, and we're already going to start working soon on the next series that we're going to roll out in the fall. And just tune your ears or keep your ears open for that, because that's going to be really good as well as we as we do some more podcasts for Digging Deeper and Perimeter Church to come. But to Laura, to Matt, to all of our guests, for you, the listener, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you, and hopefully you will hear us again soon.